Hello, YouTubers. It's me, the Poet of Pleasure, the Monday Messiah, the Sunday Sermon, the only free time, KC Chess Champion Marcus, the Star Wars, baby. Today, we are doing a character analysis Gustave SMT5 video, yeah? Bit of character analysis here. Spoiler warning, guys. Might be spoilers, might not be. Now, hi everyone. I'm here with a lore speculation video. This time, I wanted to cover some questions and possible theories about Gustave, the merchant found in Gustave Hollow. Very little direct information can be gleaned from this character, so most of my theorising will be based on his appearance, function to the player, and how he fits into the world of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Since this video is going to be very speculative, I should warn you guys, you should take this with a grain of salt. So the first sort of section is, who is Gustave? Gustave is a corpse-like figure who lives in Gustave's Hollow, where he runs a shop that sells items and demon essences. The location name, Gustave's Hollow, implies that it's a tomb, which is an underground vault used for burying the dead. According to the Megaten Wiki, the Japanese for this location is, and I'm going to butcher this, Morokumo non Karagige. Probably, as I said, check the Megaten Wiki yourself, guys, yeah, if you want to, want a proper pronunciation of that. But Google translates that to the hideout of the body. The hideout of the body. That sentence can mean a lot of things. But without knowing more about how Gustave ended up there, I don't think I can claim that the place is anything more than a resting ground for a dead guy. The mountains of gold and treasure that Gustave's surrounded by, coupled with his extravagant accessories, and the throne he's seated on, seem to indicate that the tomb was made for a deceased ruler. Ancient Egyptians are known to have buried their kings together with their most valuable possessions, which included gold, jewellery, and even furniture. It's possible that Gustave infiltrated the tomb and simply occupied the role of its original inhabitant, but I'm going to assume that he's the person that this tomb was meant for, because that seems like the least complicated explanation. There are a couple of other traits. That Gustave has that further connects him to Egyptian royalty. His skin is green. So I'm just checking my notes on the screen over, which might just be discoloration of his decaying flesh. But this is also a trait shared by several deities in Egyptian mythology. In fact, this game, SMT5's, is it Khonshu? The Egyptian god guy who leads the Egyptian Bethel geezers. He also has green skin, which is also how his human form is depicted in real-life hieroglyphics. Supposedly, green skin in Egyptian hieroglyphics is meant to symbolize a rebirth. Pardon me. Add some more on brew. But it's meant to symbolize rebirth. But different sources tell me that it can also symbolize goodness, growth, and life. Furthermore, the armband he wears on his left arm appears to represent a snake, in which case it probably stems from either Indian, Greece, or Egyptian, depending on which time period it's from. While the idea of Gustave being a former Egyptian monarch reborn as a deity sounds cool, there are a couple of details that conflict with this narrative. First of all, his name doesn't resemble any names that Egyptian royalty would have. Gustave is a recurring name among kings of Sweden. The little crown he wears, it's the thing that's on his head, also bears a striking resemblance to coronets worn by Swedish dukes, although it incorporates red fabric, while Swedish crowns, as you know, use blue fabric, don't they? Another feature which is at odds with the idea of Gustave being a deceased corpse in his tomb is the chain that he wears around his right ankle. Don't know if you noticed that. It's not really clear if this is attached to any fixture, but even if it was, there doesn't seem to be a point to it. Because why would you need to restrain a dead body? Dunno. The most simple explanation of this that I can think of is that many of Gustave's traits are symbolic and aren't meant to be interpreted in a literal manner. The name Gustave could be meant to associate the character with nobility in a general sense. It could also be a reference to Carl Gustav Jung, who's considered the founder of analytical psychology, which Megaten games, with the Persona games in particular, take a lot of their inspiration from. Jung also incorporated the mandala as a term to describe how a recurring circle motif in drawings reflected the mind's inner state. At the moment of creation, anyone who's faced the last boss of SMT 5 will recognise how the idea relates to this game. The chain Gustave wears on his ankle could be analogical for how his body is a vessel with his soul is trapped in. Reincarnation is implied to be an actual thing that happens in the Megaten games, so it could be that the chain is also used to anchor Gustave's dead soul to the mortal plane, which is why he stays animated despite being dead. There you go, so that's the first section. I'm going to take a breath there, guys, a bit of an on brew. Got my notes on the screen here, guys, got notes on the screen. Then obviously, but that's all about, generally about how what Gustave is. What about his goals? What about his motivations? In his interactions with the protagonist, Gustave is mainly interested in three things: Mecha, relics, and the Mima. Those little red geezers, isn't it? Loves a little red geezer. In SMT 5, Mecha is used as the main currency by demons in the Netherworld. Demons will often demand to be paid in Mecha whenever they're asked to join the protagonist, and will sometimes offer the protagonist to safely escape in return for a donation of Mecha. It's not clear what they spend Mecha on, but they probably use it to heal themselves at Gustave's establishments. Demons will occasionally ask for items such as medicine during negotiations, as they're probably interested in buying these from Gustave as well. It's a very popular guy, could be. I won't go into detail on how I think the demon economy works, but I'm pretty sure it involves selling demon essences. Makes sense, power in it. It's implied that only the chosen can make use of the power of a demon essence. But I think they have another purpose beyond this. Since demons occasionally produce an essence when they level up, then that probably means that they've accumulated enough energy beyond what they need for themselves, and that the surplus energy goes into producing the essence. This is reminiscent of how organisms in nature need to gather a large quantity of resources in order to reproduce. In other words, demon essences are a way for demons to produce more demons. Demons. This is very speculative, of course, on my part, but I think the way that proto-fiends created backs up this theory. Proto-fiends are technically demons, and they require the power of a god to be combined with the template of another god. And what is a demon essence if not a template for their powers and qualities, eh? What's this weird thing on my phone? So it's got a bright. Oh, I think it's a brightness lock. So I've got distracted by my phone. I've got this on the old high definition recording here. But anyway, back on track. Proto-demons are technically demons, and I've read that line, didn't I? But yeah, I've no idea what the power of God is supposed to be, but it's probably the Magasushi or some magical energy. In any case, demon essences appear to have value to other entities than the protagonists. So Gustave is probably making a lot of money selling these to various factions. There are currently wars going on. Gustave could be the middleman, the merchant man. One problem with the idea of Gustave being a merchant for demons, though, is that he specifically says he likes living separate from the riffraff out there. Obviously, a lot of jibber-jabber going on out there. Pardon me. In his introduction, if he doesn't enjoy interacting with most inhabitants of the Netherworld, then he probably doesn't barter with them directly either. So maybe he only allows certain clients to enter the Cadaver's Hollow. The recovery spring that the protagonist uses at the Leyline Fault is also supposedly run by Gustave, even though you don't appear to be interacting with him while using it. This could mean that Gustave can trade with demons indirectly as well. Sort of like Amazon, innit? The relics are man-made items typically found in vending machines left behind on street corners following the apocalypse. Over the course of 18 years, most of the items have been rendered functionally useless, but by exposure to sand and dust, and while a lot of the items are food or drinks, there are also certain inedible at this point. Well, these are certainly inedible at this point. Gustave describes himself as collector, although he's clearly referring to the treasure trove that he's surrounded by when he says this. It's possible that he equates the value of vending machine goods to that of gold, jewellery and priceless artefacts, given obviously their age and stuff, and they're no longer being made in that. But he only displays the more extravagant forms of treasure up front, to give you an impression of himself as a raw figure, kind of like how you would put your more respectable decorations in your living room and your weeaboo merchandise in your privacy of your bedroom, away from the judging eyes of your disappointing relatives. I'm sure that, people watching this video can relate to that, right? Why would Gustave show interest in industrial-made antiquities? One possible explanation I can think of is that as a ruler, Gustave views it as responsibility to record the history of humans and preserve its culture. The first known archaeologist was a Babylonian king named Nabonidus, not only excavated remains of ancient civilizations, but also restored them to their former glory. This can be viewed as a benevolent endeavour, but there is a more nefarious reason why rulers want to take on the role as archaeologists: if they have control over how the past is represented. Just realised my Christmas trees in the background there, that's pretty good. But yeah, if they could take control over how the past is represented, then they can restructure it and contextualise it in a way that's beneficial to themselves and their royal dynasty. For example, they could make arguments for the lower classes accepting the unconditional rule of the elite in their society, because that's how their civilization has always prospered and achieved glory. I can't see my tree anymore. Long script, guys. Got a long script, guys. I'll make sure you get all the information, guys. So if Gustave isn't playing the role as an archaeologist for the good of humanity, then it could be entirely self-serving. A third explanation could be that he's generally interested in learning more about human civilization, which would explain his kinship with the Min Man. Gustave is described by his introductory title as boss of the Min Man. I went over a theory I had about the Min Man, a separate topic on game FAQs. I venture down game FAQs. You should check out the SMT5 board. Some good topics on that. So yeah, I recommend you go on Game FAQs, find out other topic, and check that out. If reading this or watching, reading, if you like reading, and if you're watching this video, it's been a bit too boring, but I probably should have mentioned that at the start, really, instead of near the end to halfway through. But so if I haven't bored you to death. In any case, they're weird creatures who wander the netherworld and collect relics for Gustave. While they tend to express themselves with infantile vocabulary, many of them are actually surprisingly knowledgeable about human civilization, and about Tokyo in particular. This explains why Gustave associates with them, since he apparently wants to know more about Tokyo, but it also explains why he sends them out to do his dirty work. It's not just because he dislikes leaving his crypt, but also because the Min Man probably knows more about the relics than he does, and are therefore better suited to appraisal, and would and wouldn't be considered a relic. I'm under the assumption that Gustave pays his Min Man Macca for the relics they collect for him. He's their boss after all, not their owner. It's not really clear if the netherworld stretches out beyond Tokyo, but if it does, then Gustave probably collects relics from all over the world, as he appears to have unrestricted access to the ley line crossing. So my theory is that Gustave is deeply fascinated by human civilizations, and wants to gather as many things that represent them as possible. This is the reason why he runs a shop, as that provides him with the Macca, which he can use to buy the relics from the Min Man. There you go. And then finally, what thematic purpose does Gustave serve? I think Gustave is meant to play into the overarching theme that SMT5, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is going for, which is for the dichotomy of body and soul. Sophia refers to herself as a spirit of knowledge, which is a concept that's tied to the human soul in this game. Gustave, on the other hand, is a representative of the mundane, which his appearance as a dried up husk, his obsession with ordinary objects, and him being surrounded by earthly wealth. This just might be me reading too much into this, but it also seems like their goals are the opposite of what they represent. Sophia's dialogue, after you acquire 75% of the demon compendium, indicates that she's in pursuit of the abstract taking physical form. Ostensibly, this happens through demon fusion, and demons are portrayed as being the other half to knowledge in this game. Meanwhile, as I've argued in the previous point, Gustave is obsessed with his search for knowledge. Through their search, they attempt to become their true selves by pursuing the thing that each of them is missing. Obviously, this is all very speculative on my part. I'm pretty sure the two characters were designed to contrast one another in a way that expressed this specific theme. Also, the fact they obviously got gender roles reversed as well. So yeah, in my theory, it's that Gustave is a deceased Egyptian ruler who gathers man-made items from around the world as a way to learn more about human civilization, and that this is supposed to be an analogous to the central theme of the story. I don't know if any of this sounds compelling, but that's my take on Gustave as a character. There is more to say about him, like the fact that he seems to have some control over the ley line crossing, or the fact that he can sense that the protagonist is two separate spirits in one body. Maybe he's this game's version of Stephen, or maybe he's what's left of the creator, or maybe there's nothing meaningful to him at all, and this video dissecting his character is as worthless as the relics he collects, eh? Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think, and I might do more of these, if you liked it. Thank you all for watching. Merry Christmas, bye bye for now.